This is going to be our last congruent triangle proofs notes. Here we're going to talk about what's called HL. This is also what we call proving two right triangles congruent. The H and the L stand for hypotenuse and leg. So we're going to have the hypotenuse in either one of the legs of a right triangle. So you have to have a right triangle. All right? Here we can go ahead and mark our 90-degree angles here, making these right triangles. We need to remember, we'll go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and highlight those two so they stick out. Your hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle. The easiest way to find it, we don't have measurements, is it is across from the 90-degree angle. Okay? So we'd have to claim that these two sides are congruent, and then it doesn't matter. Your two legs form the 90-degree angle. It does not matter which one, which leg you use as being congruent. You only need one of them. Okay? We're going to come back to this. Well, I'll go ahead and discuss it now. You're not congruent. There are two ways that get mistaken that you cannot prove two angles are congruent. One is proving the three angles are congruent. We call this AAA. Okay? You'll learn with similar triangles why this is. Okay? The other one is, if you look at the order we're going in here, we have side, side, angle. So this is side, side, angle. One way I remind students, if you notice, take that side, side, angle, reverse those letters. That's a no-no word. That is a no-no way of proving congruent triangles. So if you see yourself writing ASS in that order on your proofs, that's not a way of proving congruent triangles. So erase it real quick and say not congruent. Okay? So let's go ahead. We've got one proof we're going to work together on for the HL, and then you will work on the other one. There's no warm-up or anything on this one. So at the top, we're talking about how we need, we're going to need the hypotenuse congruent and just one of the legs. Doesn't matter which one. Okay? So first things first, we've already got some, this is going to go real quick. We've got some stuff already filled out for us. We have that segment WY is congruent to segment XZ, and it's given. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to label that. So we have segment WY right here, the long side right here, and segment XZ all right here being congruent. So I'll just do the best I can of marking those congruent. Okay. Next, we're told that segment WZ, this is very, very important, okay? Segment WZ is perpendicular to segment ZY. What does perpendicular mean? It's opposite of parallel. We are going to intersect at a 90-degree angle. So that's where we could put our 90-degree angle in. So now we can see over here, we have a right triangle. Okay, if we cover this up, we've got a right triangle. It also tells us that segment XY is perpendicular to segment ZY. So we have another 90-degree angle over here, creating right there another right triangle. So now that we have right triangles, okay, we can go ahead and move through and we can say, okay, I see here that across from my 90-degree angle, these sides, the hypotenuse, plural for hypotenuse, are already marked congruent. So I have my H for hypotenuse. Okay? Now, this is something that you're going to have to also recognize, just like vertical angles. You're going to have to see it. They're not going to tell you necessarily. They may or may not. You're going to have to start noticing things like the vertical angles as well as what we call a shared side. These triangles share segment ZY and segment YZ. And you'll see why I'm doing those in opposite direction, or switching those letters around. When I go over here and I state that those two segments are congruent, I'm going to say segment ZY is congruent to segment YZ. Now, you've seen this in the other proofs. I do believe in one of the other lessons that we did in class. The letters are switched, but even though we reverse those letters, it's still the exact same side of the triangle on both sides. So this is going to be one of those weird reflexive properties that you're going to see. The reason we had to switch these letters, in case it has not been explained to you already, Reason we had to say ZY and then YZ is because of corresponding parts. Okay, when I'm looking at triangle WYZ, I looked at I'm going from Y to Z, okay? On the next triangle, Z and Y. If you look at the triangle name, they switch places. So Y is going to correspond with Z and Z with Y. It gets a little confusing there. But it's because we have we have flipped that triangle, we have to flip the letters as well, okay? So that explains why it's still reflexive even though it looks different. We're used to ZY is congruent to ZY, okay? But because we reflected that triangle, we have to reflect those, we have to switch those letters around as well. And this right here is going to give us one of our legs. So there's our L. We have an H and we have an L. We're done. We can prove that all we're trying to prove is the triangles are congruent. So now that we have our H and our L, we can say triangle WYZ here is congruent to triangle XZY. How do we know? What's our reason for saying that? We'll look up here. We had an H and an L. So we have our HL congruence. Okay? So you will go ahead and work on the next proof on your own, and we will go over it in class, and that is the end of this lesson. I told you it'd be short.